any potty training advice for older kids who don't understand the concept of the toilet?
Okay, so one of the first things for all kids, whether young or small, but with the older kids, I actually asked this more, I realized, is first thing you want to do is you still want to look at toilet training readiness physically. Are they staying dry through the night? Because if they're not, that is actually a physical mechanism, that is, it's a real issue biologically or medically, and that's something to talk to your doctor about like, why isn't this kid dry through the night? Or is it he dry through most of the night and then just at the very end when he wakes up, that the accident happens there. So the toileting readiness is a deal. A lot of our kids on the spectrum have GI issues. And as long as they have GI issues, any kind of toilet training is almost unpredictable because they don't have control of their bowels and their stomach and everything else. So I would actually work on the GI issues first to try to figure out what's going to help it, whether it's a diet or, whatever it may be, that is working with a biomedical doctor that works with people on the spectrum and really working out those GI issues to try to heal your gut, right? If you have leaky gut, it's very hard to control when you're going or not. And what I've realized with a lot of the older kids is a lot of them do have those issues. They're not dry through the night and they have leaky gut. So I would actually go to your doctor first, your primary care physician that really helps you with your child. Try to address those issues and get that regulated so that your child does have some control. Because I have to say, like the kids that have leaky gut, it's really hard to get, they have no control, on their bladder and, their bowels a lot of times. So do those things first. And then after that, it's a behavioral thing, and for the older kids, I always tell parents, you need to look at your history of trying to potty train, because if you've tried and you've given up, you have to actually look at the timeline to see how long you tried before you gave up. Because basically what you're building is their tolerance and how long they have to fight before you give up.
Yeah.
It's a form of like when we do extinction, which is a behavioral technique where you're basically ignoring the behavior and you're letting, you're not ignoring the child, but you're ignoring the behavior and you're reinforcing the behavior not happening. Or you're reinforcing another skill. So I always look at toilet training and I tell parents, how long did you go when you tried? And sometimes it's 1 day, 2 days. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, we fought with him for 14 days, 2 weeks, and then we gave up. I would say, well, then that's going to be your baseline, because he knows he can cry for 14, he can fight with you for 14 days before he even starts thinking about getting with the schedule to be toilet trained. So that matters too. And then I'd say get a good behaviorist, get a BCBA with you and work out what all of the reinforcers are for him. What are all the antecedents? What behaviors that he's gotten used to doing? Is there a sensory issue? Does he not notice when he's wet? If he notices he's wet and he changes his pants quickly, that's actually a really great sign to do training for toilet training readiness. But work with your BCBA and, really start looking at all the different issues that surround toilet training. Is it a behavioral issue? Is it a medical issue? Is it a sensory issue? Are there reinforcers that you're willing to remove from his current life so that they're special and you can use them just for toilet training? Because that usually, the more motivating it is, they're neat initially. For the kids who don't like to be wet and want to change quickly, it's very motivating. That's the motivation to get toilet trained. But if they don't care if they're wet, you have to have some kind of other external motivator or reinforcer for him, because they're just not realizing they're wet. And it could be just like that whole physical state where they don't realize they're wet, and that is its own issue. So, there's many things to do, many parts to go through this, but get BCBA and they can help you go through. And I know a lot of times people don't have BCBAs near you, but like if you can get anybody to even do it by telehealth, it's possible to get the instruction. They can just spend enough time through an iPad or another device watching your child, interviewing you, figuring out what the history is, and figuring out what the reinforcers are, and they can walk you through it and make a plan for you.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.